Greetings all. This is Justin.
This is Nick.
And we're back at another Hangar Bay.
How you going, dude?
Pretty well.
Awesome, man. Yeah, back to the Empire again. We're back through the new factions again. It feels like they just came out, but we have gone through them once and then old factions and through them. Yeah. Time flies in the world of X-Wing. So, this week, we've been focusing a lot on specific ships over the past several weeks. In fact, I think since we started second edition videos, we pretty much have been...
That's been it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But back in the day, we were focusing more on archetypes, which is something I want to jump around a bit more.
Yep.
And the current archetype, which this video is going to be on, is Imperial Commanders, which is a phrase I sort of invented myself. But I get the impression it was very much a purposeful archetype FFG built into the Empire faction.
Yeah, sort of Palp and friends.
Palp and friends. Because Palp was so powerful in first edition, they wanted Palp-like strategies going into second edition, and I think they've achieved that.
Yeah,
it's not hasn't a lot of meta share right now, but I think from a design point of view, it all looks really solid. Meta share might change when the points change, which by the way will be next week. Stay tuned for all those changes.
Ooh, can't wait.
Very keen to talk about all those changes. It's going to be really, really awesome. So we're looking at specific crew options like Palp, which basically support all of the ships on your squad.
So with Palp, we've also got Tarkin, Sloane, Sienna Ray, and Moff Jared.
Yeah, and we were talking before this, sort of throwing up the idea of Director Krennic. I don't think Director Krennic really qualifies.
Not quite.
He sort of helps out one of the other ships in your squad.
Yeah.
It almost feels like an upgrade for a ship that sits on a different ship. That's the way I think of him.
Yeah.
He does work alongside one of these quite well, which we'll talk about in a tick when we get to these.
Yep.
Also, Agent Callus was another one where we were sort of on the fence. It's not so much helping your ships, it's more about targeting one of your opponent's ships. The Empire's got some awesome crew options, and the power level of them just seems really decent.
Also, finally, the Death Trooper as well.
Yes, the Death Trooper is another weird kind of one. But again, it's more about debuffing your opponent's ships.
Yeah.
Also, it is worth pointing out that commanders don't just exist on the Empire, they're just predominantly on the Empire. Things like Princess Leia on the Rebellion faction, being able to let your friendly ships do red maneuvers more easily. That design carried over from first edition to second edition. But just become a bit more efficient in second edition. Still not seeing a lot of play. I'm hoping that changes because I really like the design of Leia, but we're not talking about Leia today. We're talking about the Empire.
So with these commanders, we're talking mainly about two ships. We're talking the Lambda-class shuttle, and we're also talking about the TIE Reaper. Yeah,
the points between them are very, very similar. Cheapest Reaper is 41, cheapest Lambda is 43 points.
Yeah.
There is a lot of relevant things that they do with their pilots, namely Major Vermeil on the TIE Reaper. The Lambda actually sees play with all of its pilots, which is really, really cool because in first edition it was just Omicron group pilot, slap on Palp, dot list, done. Yeah, pretty much. But now we've got Kargi, Sai, and Colonel Jendon, and we're going to see all of those in these lists, so we'll talk about those pilot abilities when we get to them. In terms of why you take these different platforms, the Reaper is basically a discount. The Reaper's probably arguably a better attacker.
Yeah, but it doesn't have the backwards firing arc that the Lambda has.
No, I feel like the backwards firing arc is just really more literally to cover its bum.
Yeah.
I think is literally what we're looking at there. It's really good insurance if your opponent tries to outmaneuver it. The Reaper can be a bit more aggressive with the adaptive ailerons.
That's true.
It's a decent platform for amongst all the commanders, also Darth Vader, because of the offensive power. It also has jam. The Lambda has jam as well, but the Reaper's jam is white, not red. So there's some cool, fun things that go on. I think there's a good case for taking either one of them in pretty much all the cases we look at, which we'll discuss further as we go through these lists. So without further ado, let's dive right into them. So when I put this to the patrons, I suddenly had a lot of last-minute submissions on the patron Discord, and we had a couple of different lists that use Admiral Sloane. Admiral Sloane being probably the most meta-relevant commander we have right now. These lists by Coda and Roundy. One of them uses Sloane on a Lambda-class shuttle with Sai, and the other one uses Sloane on a TIE Reaper with Major Vermeil.
Now, Admiral Sloane reads, after another friendly ship at range 0 to 3 defends, if it is destroyed, the attacker gains 2 stress tokens. While a friendly ship at range 0 to 3 performs an attack against a stress ship, it may re-roll 1 attack die.
That's powerful.
Yeah, really worth the 10 points. Easy.
Absolutely. And I think what makes Admiral Sloane meta relevant, we're seeing her in lists with just like maybe like a one-off Academy pilot. You don't really have to do massive build-arounds with Sloane. The one-off activation double stressing your opponent if they're flying like Whisper or Sunterfell or something
not only that, Poe now.
Yeah, just double stressing.
Yeah.
And I don't think the second part of the text has to activate to get the value. And it's pure upside when it does. I think that's what's going on with Sloane. I'm not an Imperial pilot myself. You haven't tried it much yourself, so can't really comment.
I'm actually considering, though, putting Sloane on a TIE Phantom, maybe?
I think that would be very, very interesting. See what kind of lists we can balance out with that. More on that later. In this list here with Coda, we have it alongside 4 of the Planetary Sentinels with the TIE Striker. And on Major Vermeil, we also have Marksmanship and ISB Slicer. So the ISB Slicer is kind of fun. I dig it. It's not hugely synergistic with this list, but jamming is just always really, really solid if you can pull it off.
Well, yeah, if you're jamming them and stressing them out, you're going to feel pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. Major Vermeil is a purely offensive version of the TIE Reaper. In terms of his costing, by the way, it is worth pointing out that he sits neatly on the curve with all the other pilots. He's 2 more points than the one with the 1 less initiative. Because he is seeing enough meta share, a week's time from now, he might go up in points, possibly. He's not significant in terms of meta share. I just bring that up because he is seeing meta play, and there's no weighting in the points with his pilot ability. So it is something just to consider.
Yeah.
I predict that it won't happen, but it is worth pointing out.
Look, even if he only moves up by 1 point, you've still got your 200 points there.
Yeah. For sure. It didn't need to change drastically. And even if he goes up even further, you can cut ISB Slicer or Marksmanship, but I have Marksmanship or even something like Trick Shot. Use up the 1 point talent for sure. But look, you got to cut them, whatever.
Yeah.
Also, just rereading Admiral Sloane. Yep. Another friendly ship is destroyed. But what a friendly ship. So even so, Major Vermeil gets the bonuses off that second paragraph.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Major Vermeil is a good attacker himself. So you've got 5 platforms with 3 red dice. Decent sets. I quite like Planetary Sentinel, actually.
I still actually haven't flown any of the TIE Strikers yet. I really need to get back into flying those ships.
Trying all the jank out.
Yeah.
I mean, they really struggled in first edition. Lightweight framed helped them. There's no lightweight frame now. I mean, 2 agility, I think, is the biggest downside on this. But X-Wings have 2 agility, and their stats aren't too far off this.
Yeah, you got 4 hull there.
Sort of. I know X-Wings are really cool, but 4 hull. They don't have any of the shields. That's the downside there. But what I'm saying is, it's 4 of them alongside a Reaper, which I think is just a good collection of ships. And that's why I find it interesting. If we move over to the other list, which still has the 4 Planetary Sentinels alongside the Lambda class shuttle, with some of the points saved on the investments on the Commander carrier, you've put in a couple of seismic charges. That seems decent, especially moving into Wave 3 with Vulture droids and potentially meta involving Mining Guild ties. I don't know how relevant Mining Guild ties are, so
Mining Guild ties can only fly over rocks, can't they?
They only fly over asteroids, correct. So, and seismic charges destroy any obstacle. So even when the gas clouds come out, it's still going to work, which makes sense. If you blow up a gas cloud, maybe you should increase the range of the explosion. No, it's too complicated. But I'm glad that seismic charges, it feels to me like a good a safety valve that no matter what obstacles we have, there's always one thing that destroys all of them, and I think that's a good thing.
And if you're going up against Poe or something like that, and they've got debris gambit, or
for sure, it might just be relevant. Having said all that, it might not matter all that much, and you might want to think about investing the points on the platform again, just like in the last list. But I think there's a strong case for either one. Also, Lieutenant Psy is a curious choice. It means that Lieutenant Psy can focus when Lieutenant Psy coordinates a focus to a TIE striker. That's a bit of upside. It makes Lieutenant Sai a decent attacker. I will say, just got to be real careful with this, because those TIE strikers can zip away from Lieutenant Sai perhaps a little bit too easily sometimes.
Yeah.
You don't want to put the jets on in the Lambda, because if you get it out positioned, even with that 2 red dice in the rear, I don't think it's having a very good time.
No.
So I think the interaction between these two ships might be a bit awkward. It's why I like the Reaper alongside the Strikers, because they're all doing the same stuff. I know the Reaper is a medium base, so technically it reaches a bit further with its boosts, but you just move it a bit slower.
Yeah.
I think, ultimately. But yeah, it's cool nonetheless. Lieutenant Sai, another strong meta choice right now. It's interesting that we're seeing things like Sai come up in meta builds where there is no commander on Lieutenant Sai. It's just a strong ship that can coordinate, get access to that action, get free focus tokens, and just attack and do all that kind of stuff. And alongside Sloane, if it's doing its thing, attacking efficiently with those focus tokens, getting a bit more value from Sloane, that seemed pretty decent. I like both of these ideas. I think ultimately we've got to face the fact that maybe building everything around Sloane isn't the most powerful thing we can do on the Empire. But if you do, if you can manufacture games in just the right way, you can get more value out of her, which seems really, really decent.
Yeah.
Also, one more list by our patrons. This is Who Needs a Bid by Nuada. And in the chair of the commander, we have Sienna Ree, which I'm very, very interested in. I think this commander has more upside than most other commanders, but probably not the consistent floor like Admiral Sloane has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also just sitting off to the side is Krennic, saying that it was all him. He's the one that's doing it
That's
all.
right. We're here in the my greatness, something.
Yeah.
I made the Death Star. Something like that. Krennic's really interesting on this. We'll talk about him in a tick. Sienna Ree reads, after you perform a coordinate action, if the ship you coordinated performed a barrel roll or boost, it gains 1 stress. It may gain 1 stress to rotate 9 degrees.
Which on these...
these 3 wingmen, yeah. Oh. It's very interesting. I mean, obviously, Sunterfell, yes, that's the craziest thing. It has the most potential upside with Sunterfell. This is like a crazy, like, potentially turn up on a dime and arc dodge. And it's going to happen occasionally. It's not always going to happen, though. Just be aware of that.
But, I mean, you've also got Redline.
Redline is...
to just turn 90 degrees.
Yeah, this is the nuts right here.
Yeah.
Because Redline has a boost. I've never actually considered doing this with Sienna Ree before. It's a really good pickup, Nuada. I like the way you think. I mean, here's the thing. Like, imagine this. You have a rock here, Redline facing the rock. He boosts this way, turn that way, and then hooks around the rock like that. And, like, basically turns all the way around and faces someone who is coming back at him.
And, but not only that, after you've done the boost, you've still got the target lock as well with Redline. Yeah. Just cheeky.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because of course.
Yeah.
So actually, let's just reread that to double check the interaction. After you perform an action, you may acquire a target lock. Sienna Ree is after you perform. It may gain 1 stress after you perform a coordinate action. So the coordinate will resolve. Yes, that does work. Yeah. That does work because you coordinate. Within the window of coordinating, your ship does an action. Yeah. And after that, the stress. But within this window, Redline can do the other action. I believe that's the interaction. Sorry if I got that flow chart wrong.
Yeah. If not, you might... Oh, no.
I don't care if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's still powerful.
You've probably already got the target locks anyway.
For sure. Don't forget that Redline can do that, still do a blue maneuver, and then take another action anyway.
Yeah.
Coordinates don't lock out the regular action they would take. So, yeah, it's kind of fun. Also, San Marana with marksmanship. There's no real combo with it in this list, but it's solid.
Would you consider actually maybe dropping Sen and then just building up Redline? I don't think so.
We already have the compromise here with concussion missiles instead of proton torpedoes, so it's in the conversation. I feel like Sienna Ree starts to lose value if we cut away even more platforms. That's the problem I have here.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of taking Sienna Ree alongside a couple of really agile aces like Sunterfell, and if there was another good interceptor, I'd think about that for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe Vader. But I just love this combination with Redline. That just seems so interesting to me. Nuada, on the Discord or in the comments, tell us, have you tried this? Because I'm curious about the Sienna Redline combo.
This list is by Nico, and it's Tarkin and Krennic Bromance.
Indeed. So this time we have Tarkin and Krennic. The commander in this list being Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah.
Let's just talk briefly about him before we look at the list itself. Requires a target lock. All red target lock has 2 recursive charges. During the system phase, you may spend both of your charges. If you do, each friendly ship may acquire a lock on a ship that you have locked. So, in other words, you can do this, then you have to take a turn off before you can do it again. Is the layman way of talking about that. It's very interesting. Director Krennic gives the platform access to the target lock. So this works on the Reaper and on the Lambda class shuttle. It is worth pointing that out. Every time I talk about Grand Moff Tarkin on the Lambda class shuttle, somebody points out, but it has no target lock. That's why. Remember, whenever you have cards that add things onto the bar, that does unlock the ability to take other cards, which is very, very relevant.
Yeah.
The list itself, Colonel Jendon, Director Krennic, Grand Moff Tarkin, and ST-321.
Marek Steele has elusive and fire control system.
Zertic Strom with fire control systems.
And Valen Rudor just naked.
Yeah, this is interesting. Valen Rudor, after a friendly ship at 0 to 1 defends, you may perform an action. That seems interesting because Tarkin can give him a target lock, and then he can focus, and then he's probably going to shoot last, so it's kind of fun.
Okay.
It's kind of fun. It's a bit more support. Initiative match with Colonel Jendon seems pretty decent. It is also worth pointing out, because this is another thing which people get confused over. When Tarkin says may acquire a lock, there is no requirement on the ship itself to have the target lock action. Which means it can work with the TIE Fighter as well. It also worked with like TIE Interceptors, TIE Phantoms, and any other TIE that doesn't have a target lock.
Yeah.
Which seemed decent. I like these TIE Advanced. There's
a
bit of funness going on here.
Zertic Strom. I haven't played with him. He seemed very good.
Yeah. I like this basic build. That's just fire control systems.
Yeah.
And alongside Grand Moff Tarkin, it enables him to use his ability a bit more effectively. Fire control systems is good because you get value out of the target lock before you then go to spend the target lock in the end phase.
Yeah.
Marek Steele doesn't really have that same thing, but there's always the baked-in ability on the advance as well, which means you get to change a hit to a crit, so whatever. So alongside fire control, there's an extra reroll on top of all that. I find Marek still interesting. Just having a look at him now, the hype with the TIE Advance has pretty much been around Vader for the start of the format, but he's still Initiative 5. His ability's still really nice.
And he's actually 20 points less than Vader.
Which he should be. Look, we have to put weight on the fact that Vader's Initiative 6 has 3 recursive force charges.
100%, but 50 points compared to 70.
Oh, yeah.
That is huge.
For the sake of list building, it's really, really solid. And we know how relevant Initiative 5 is here. Also, having said that, there is no bid here. I did not bring up the fact in the last list that there was no bid. I don't think Redline cares so much about a bid. Marek Steele, I feel like you probably want to think about it. But everything else is Initiative 3, so I don't know. It might just be a case of there's not enough meat to cut off here in order to acquire a bid. You've got ST-321 on the Lambda, which is
awesome.
Nice. Yeah,
awesome.
I think
it works really well with the Grand Moff Tarkin.
It does. Interestingly, it sort of gets around the need to have target lock, but Grand Moff Tarkin needs target lock as a requirement. It feels a bit over-bloated alongside Krennic, having to utilise both of those things.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool at the same time because you can set up one turn the target lock shenanigan fiasco that is Grand Moff Tarkin, and then just dump them all out the next turn, which seems kind of cool.
Yeah. I suppose, would you put the optimised prototype on Steel? Because you wouldn't bother with Storm.
Yes, good point. We didn't talk about this. So Krennic gives away the optimised prototype, and the optimised prototype allows you to spend one of your paint results to remove a shield or flip one of your opponent's damage cards. Marek Steele already has utility for hits and crits. He wants to get a crit through in order to deliver a face-up damage card to then activate his ability. which you can argue is good and bad with Krennic's ability. Because Krennic's ability cuts down the amount of results he has, and he might have needed those results to get those hits in past your opponent's green dice. You can also make the argument that trading off a focus for a shield makes it easier to get a crit in as well.
Yeah.
It works on both ends. And realistically, it's not that exciting with Zertic Strom. Yeah.
I think Steel's the most likely candidate.
It has a bit of awkward interaction, but I think that's still fine. And ultimately, Director Krennic is there to give Grand Moff Tarkin the target lock he needs. It's kind of weird that these guys have any synergy together at all.
Yeah, they were not friends.
No, it's very strange indeed. Indeed, Director Krennic's not bad with Vader as well.
Yeah.
The kind of ultra-aggressive builds that want to get target locks. You can go Krennic and Vader on a Reaper, and it's pretty sound.
Yeah.
He synergizes a lot with other Imperials that he did not get along with.
Yeah, well, he's not choking on his aspirations when he's on the...
That's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point. Next up, we have Palp Aces 2.0 by CyborgPotato Mereface. And this uses Emperor Palpatine. I wanted to make sure we at least covered one list with Emperor Palpatine. And this is reminiscent of the original Palp Aces.
Yeah.
Which is good considering Vader and Sentinels actually feel like they're in a much better place than they were towards the end of the first edition.
Yeah, so Darth Vader has fire control system and afterburners.
Suntia has Predator.
And Captain Kargi has Emperor Palpatine.
And I know a lot of people don't like Palpatine moving into second edition. I think what we got to appreciate is the kind of disgusting dice mods that we had in first edition just don't exist in second edition so much.
Yeah.
I think providing all your friendlies with a Force token to use at their disposal is actually fantastic.
Like, giving Vader a fourth...
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
I've seen it. It's actually decent. The fact that Vader can basically go to town with his ability and always have a Force token as backup. And the way you use it is you activate Suntia first, just in case he needs it, and then Vader is backup. It's so crazy how the extra Force token is actually relevant on this build. I think ultimately... I like the design of Palpatine a lot better. If there is any argument about how he performs, I think ultimately it comes down to power level, and he could come down in points. It's one of those things that FFG might have just wanted to say, okay, this guy had his time in the sun. Yeah. Let's try and get everything else worked out and balanced, and maybe bring him down later on. So who knows? Come next week, maybe he'll come down by a point or two or whatever.
So what ability does Captain Kargi have?
At the start of the engagement phase, you may choose one or more friendly ships at range 0 to 3. If you do, transfer all enemy lock tokens from the chosen ships to you.
Makes you feel...
It's a massive shield, basically.
Yeah.
It's very good when you have two targets that just don't want to get hit full stop ever. No, bad.
Yeah.
Basically,
and that is exactly what Vader and Sunterfell are.
Yeah, it feels very reminiscent of the original Power Bases.
Yeah.
I love pulling target locks off Sunterfell. It feels like he's approaching the kind of degenerative, disgusting stuff he did where he just denies. It's not as degenerative as it once was. There's no double focus. Evade, auto thrusters, palp any dice you want.
Yeah.
Basically, you roll 3 hits. I'm still 90% likely going to evade all of this.
Yeah.
I don't miss that. But Stingy's still decent.
Yeah. Well, as soon as the gas clouds come out, he's going to be using them.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've seen a lot of people comment on that video I did the other day of gas clouds. Yay, Suntia's back. I don't think that's so bad because it is symmetrical.
Yeah.
I think if the gas clouds do help Suntia, it's going to be in a fair way. The fact that it's symmetrical means that your opponent... It doesn't just feel like you're the one that's just doing everything and your opponent just sits there not playing X-Wing.
Yeah.
I think... That's what we need in the design with Suntia moving forward. Just a place where he is very powerful, still only 3 hull, very good at denying damage, but not just like, you just don't get to hit him.
Yeah.
Which is what it felt like towards, not towards the end, but like when he first started being a thing in first edition.
Now you've got a 4-point bid here, but Darth Vader,
yes,
no Force upgrades.
No. Vader typically wants supernatural reflexes, which you could take if you cut away the 2 upgrades and you go up by another point. A 4-point bid versus the 3-point bid, they're both kind of not that relevant. Especially right now with Initiative 6, with not a whole heap of Initiative 6 being flown. I mean, I say that. I know Poe might start to take over the meta soon. We need more results on that.
Yeah.
But we don't know what kind of bids Poe is taking right now. So, do we just forget the bid and put more stuff in?
Yeah, just drop Afterburners and put Supernatural Reflexes on. That's 200 points.
Yeah. I kind of want a 3-point bid, to be honest. I feel a bit nervous about other Initiative 6s. I think a bid is...
But you also then have Emperor Palpatine to be used as defense as well.
Yes, I completely agree. I think what we're doing then is we have Fire Control System on Vader as that's the one card which is on the fence about taking, and I think I prefer the bid. I don't think more offensive capability on Vader is really that necessary. Yeah. Especially when he's already doing everything he wants to do. Target locks, focus. He's in control of everything as it is. Occasionally attacking a bit worse isn't really that big a deal. He's just got to arc dodge. Arc dodge. So I think the bid's more relevant. That's just how I feel about that one. Yeah. Decent looking list, by the way. I've seen this kind of thing flown right at the start of second edition. Suntia, Vader, and Palp was a thing being flown at some of my local gaming stores, that kind of thing. A bit of toing and froing with the upgrades and that kind of thing. Supernatural reflexes, cheaper builds on Suntia, like Crackshot, that kind of stuff. There's all considerations, but I think the idea is solid, just flavour to match. Flavour to match what you like. Let's move on to the last list we have here. Palp Vader Jam Ace by Andrew R.
So we have here the Grand Inquisitor with Supernatural Reflexes and Fire Control System.
Once again, we have Palpatine, this time on Lieutenant Psy in the Lambda class shuttle.
And we also have Major Vermeil with Darth Vader and an ISP Slicer.
And I wanted to talk about this.
That's...
very nasty. I like the Reaper pulling double duty as an aggressive ship. In fact, just foregoing the need to even have a commander on it, which is really, really fun. We've got Emperor Palpatine here as well. We have coordinates and jams on 2 of these platforms. One of those actions is red, depending on which platform. It doesn't matter. Having all that choice is always a good thing. Also, Inquisitor, Supernatural Reflexes.
Yeah.
That alone, in fact, we cut away Fire Control System. That is the same cost as Vader. Now, Grand Inquisitor has 1 less Force token, is 1 lower initiative, but his ability is pretty awesome.
I actually prefer this, personally, because I was a massive Grand Inquisitor fan.
In first edition.
And
as you should be.
And then seeing Vader on a ship with more than 1 crew sort of reminds me of the Decimator and a Ace.
Oh, yeah, the auto damage thing. Have you ever tried the Death Shuttle?
No.
Omicron Group pilot with Darth Vader?
No.
It doesn't really work in second edition as well as it did in first edition.
Yeah.
But basically, you just suicide the shuttle in and just give crits to your opponent. It's hilarious.
Always fun.
Always fun indeed. Vermeil Vader is something... Here's what I think is going to happen with next week's points changes. Whisper's going to lose the crew slot. Then Vader on Vermeil is going to be the next hotness for the Vader crew card. I think that's what's going to happen. Unless the Vader crew card goes up as well. It's interesting. In that video I spoke about, in that speculation video we did, Whisper, something will happen with Whisper. And I didn't mention that they can lose the crew slot as one of the options.
Change it to a gunner?
Absolutely.
That's what I like personally.
Yeah, for sure. I think putting the crew on an ace was already problematic. And if it wasn't going to be a problem now, it's going to be a problem down the track. A crew is such a high utility card, which usually only goes on like larger ships and carriers and not aces, essentially, is what I'm saying here.
So the people are saying that because in canon, the Phantom had a crew slot. Like, just because that happens doesn't necessarily mean that everything...
That's right. My counterpoint to that is, okay, then the Falcon should have 5 crew and 2 gunners.
Yeah.
Because that's what it has in canon. I think ultimately the most important thing is what works for the game. Also, the IG-2000 should have a crew as well.
Or in the Resistance, just give an everybody crew?
Yes, an everybody crew. Or just 20 crew slots and just print all of it. Yeah. I know.
Poe, Rey, Chewbacca, everyone. Yeah,
That's right, yeah.
that seems fair.
Yeah, we're getting off to a bit of a tangent here, but that's okay. We're having fun. Yeah, I like the look of this list. I really like the look of the Grand Inquisitor. Vermeil, Initiative 4. Who cares? He's a brawler. He doesn't really need to have high initiative.
Yeah.
I would love to see the Inquisitor do a bit better. I think one of the key things holding him down right now is Redline. Again, I think the points change is going to help that. I cannot see a world where Redline does not go up.
Yeah. I'm actually considering maybe flying something like this now.
You should give it a go.
That looks good.
Looks like a lot of fun. I really like the TIE Advance prototype. I like the design heading forward with another Force user and generic Force users. I think there might be something there when it all balances out right. But who knows? Who knows? Seems really cool. And again, Palp. I'd like to see Palp have a bit more play as well.
Yeah.
And all kinds of stuff. The Imperial Commander archetype, I think, could use a bit more love. We'll see what FFG bring down the track. In the meantime, guys, thank you so much for all those submissions. If you'd like us to have a look at any of your lists, please in the comment section just dump it as a block of text with a link at the bottom to the list within your favourite squad builder. Please not the official app. It barely ever works. Yet another squad builder or any of those sites work great. If you're part of the Patreon Discord, just drop it in the relevant channel on there. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Reddit. Please consider supporting the Patreon. It's growing every day. I cannot thank you guys enough for the support we're getting. It's really making this whole thing realistic. Compared to YouTube ad revenue, it actually is sort of turning this half into a job, sort of half there. We're getting there, and it's a lot of fun along the way. We'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.